Recession-ready tip number 4. So today I'm talking about going premium. And this is one of my top tips, even in a recession. And it might seem counterintuitive, but there is always room at the top end of the market. So my question is for you today, how can you position your business at the premium end of your market? And I wanted to share a little tool with you, something you might be familiar with. It might just be reminding you of this, which is an example to show you how one particular market works and get you to reflect on how that applies to your business. So I'm going to talk about supermarkets because I think the way that the supermarkets market has changed over the last few years is really interesting. And I think that's partly down to the big recession that we had in 08, 09 and the sort of knock-on effect that we've seen from that over the last few years. I think there's obviously other factors at play as well in terms of changes from technology, the fact that we're doing more of our shopping online nowadays, and the fact that consumer behaviours change. So our buying habits, the products that we want to eat and buy have changed. But I do think that the economy and the really tough market conditions that we saw after the big global financial crash, I definitely think that's played a big part in this change. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the supermarkets example, and hopefully that might prompt some thoughts for you about where do you sit within the wider market with your particular offer, and how can you position yourself at the top end of your market with a really good premium offer. So I've drawn a little sketch of a marketplace map, and hope you can all see that. There are two axes on the grid. The middle one, the vertical one, is quality. So we've got low quality, high quality at the top. And the horizontal axis is price. So we've got low price over this side, high price over this side. And I've just plotted in, off the top of my head, where I think the supermarkets were sitting a few years ago on this grid. And I think things have arguably changed. And there's definitely a debate to be had even now about where people sat a few years ago, where they sit now. But I've put Lidl and Aldi down here in this bottom corner because a few years ago they were definitely perceived, and possibly still now, as offering a low price product range and potentially sort of lower quality than the other supermarkets. At the top end, I'm going to skip up to there now, high quality, high price, we've got Waitrose and M&S. I think most people would agree that those two companies sit up in that corner. And in the middle we've got Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda's and Morrison's, because they're in the middle of the market. They're offering a middle price bracket and middle quality compared to these other examples. Exactly where they go, all of these, as I say, is a question for debate and something we could talk about for a long time. But I've just plotted these on here as a starting point. And what I wanted to say was that even in tough times, Waitrose and M&S arguably have continued to do well. M&S, I think, has struggled with ladies' fashion in particular. I think lots of us have heard stories about how they're not doing so well in that area, but I think their food sales have continued to do well and to be strong. And Lidl and Aldi have opened, hundreds of branches across the country, and more of us are doing our shopping there. So what we've seen is a polarisation of the market, I guess, in the last few years, where people who maybe did all of their shopping and were very loyal to one of these supermarkets are shopping more and more up here or down here at this end of the market. And the problem with this end of the market is that it's all about volume of sales. So the reason that these companies can give these amazing discounts is because they are buying for the whole of Europe, and they are able to negotiate amazing deals with their suppliers and then pass that cost saving on to customers. And I would say that for small and medium-sized businesses, it's really hard to compete in that space. So if you haven't got the leverage of a really big network to tap into, a really big supply chain, it's very hard to negotiate those deals and to be able to compete on price. Similarly, in the middle of the market, it's very hard to carve out a distinctive place for yourself. And what I would argue is that today, for me, I find it very difficult to choose between Tesco, Asda, Morrison, Sainsbury's. They're all very similar. They offer similar products, the experience in the store is similar, the experience at the till, with the customer service is very similar, and the prices are pretty similar. So there's not really that much to choose from. Whereas Waitrose and M&S, they have a very different store experience. The staff will treat you in a different way. You'll have different kind of interactions with them, and they have a very different product range. And yes, you paid more for that, but people are willing to pay. So I would suggest thinking about ways in which you can position yourself at that top end in the Waitrose and M&S section of that grid. And that will probably mean that you need to increase your prices, or certainly be offering things at the top end of your current pricing range. And you need to be offering a really high quality, really great service or product. So I'm going to leave you with that thought, and hopefully you will go away and think about more ways in which you can go premium.